りおしまい。
Good evening and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Get the Mic, the only show where your host on the left, Owl,
and your host on the right, Brock,
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. On this episode, as usual, we're talking about Dragon Ball. In particular, we're talking about episode 83, which is titled Which Way to Papaya Island, or I think in the Japanese, it's Hurry to the Tournament Goku or something like that.
It's like Hurry Goku to the Tenkaichi Budokai Tournament.
Right, and basically, it's kind of almost the same meaning because that's where we learn in the episode. That's where the Tenkaichi Budokai is going to be, anyways. So it's kind of which way to the tournament,
and also where we learned that
go to the tournament,
Tien and Chaozu were headed to. So it's a continuation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, before we get into that, though, I do want to say our normal spiel. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Like 80% of our viewers right now aren't subscribed, so please subscribe. YouTube, we upload on Mondays and Thursdays. Rumble, we upload Tuesdays and Fridays. And we are going to miss next week's episodes, but we will be back the following week, so be on the lookout for that. I think that might be it for housekeeping things. Anything else on your end, Brock?
No.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with this episode. Which way to Papaya Island? So 3 years have passed, and Goku is on his way to the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. On his way, he's like swinging through the trees, and he hears some commotion and helps a green fox who is being chased and assaulted by 3 man beasts. The classic Toriyama man beast. We have a gorilla, a tiger, and what was the other guy? I don't remember.
I thought I remembered, and now I don't. Is
Gorilla,
he a boar?
tiger, and maybe a boar. I
think he's a boar man.
Could be a boar man. Anyways, so he helps this fox and beats up the guys. They drive off, and after helping him, the fox takes Goku to the airport to help him out, as to pay him back, let's say. Thinking that Goku is using conventional means of travel to get to the tournament. He does tell him about the tournament as well. While in the airport, Goku reveals that he has no money when they're trying to buy their ticket. However, Konkichi decides to try and steal 2 tickets instead of paying for them, only being thwarted by a police officer before he can accomplish this goal. The pair leave the airport before this is revealed to Goku. He runs out there. And now, a couple things I wanted to mention here. It's heavily implied that what the fox has done is something that he is responsible for, let's say, that he's not necessarily taking responsibility for. And so when Goku saves him, it's kind of that idea that that Goku is unable to see the nuance in the situation. He sees someone weaker being beat up and doesn't understand that possibly there's a reason for this. Now, is it the right thing to beat someone up? Obviously not. But the Fox has done something that will be revealed later that has kind of maybe not earned this punishment, but something that explains more what has happened.
Yeah, I do want to point out right at the beginning of the episode when Goku's hopping through the trees, he looks up at a bird of prey that's gliding above, and he says, "That looks tasty."
Yep.
And so we see the first thing that he's looking for his sustenance is he's looking upward, and he's looking specifically at, I don't know if it's a bird of prey or
It's like an eagle or
it looks like
something.
an eagle or a hawk, right? And so we're introduced to this situation that it's almost like we're at the edge of the wisdom that he's going to be taking in, right? We saw in the last episode he struggled to be able to find the wisdom with his tail, then he got it, and now it's sort of what nourishment are you going for now?
And it's almost propelling him forward, right? And that's
Yeah.
what we see in that. Also, he's grown a substantial amount. There's a little clip in this section where you can see it, him standing on the tree. He no longer has his small, pudgy body, but he's growing into his more adolescent body.
He's kept the same face, though.
And that, he does have the same face, but that is a physical manifestation of that maturity that we've been talking about. So, I do also want to mention that the whole scene with them driving to the airport.
Yes.
This shows the frame that the Fox has more than Goku. We already know about Goku, but the Fox's frame is that people cannot do things without money, right? And trying to get to a place on your own is not even a possibility for him either, because Goku tells him that he's gonna walk to Papaya Island. He's gonna run to Papaya Island, and the Fox thinks he's joking, right? And he doesn't. He really says he doesn't need the airport, but they go there anyways. And when they're there, that whole process of them trying to get a ticket, it's punctuated by Goku saying, because the Fox asks him, "How have you been traveling around with no money? How do you sleep? How do you eat?" Right? And Goku says, "You need money to sleep and eat." It's kind of that leveling with wisdom, like with truth, like you don't need money to sleep and eat, right? It's that confrontation of this chaotic area, and Goku's not very familiar with airplanes in society, right? So he confronts it with truth, and it really knocks Konkichi for a loop, such that he goes back to the only thing he knows, right, which is stealing.
Right. Preying upon people.
Yeah, taking advantage of other people's blindness, let's say.
Yes, and the imagery is great in this episode as we're introduced to the planes gliding overhead just like the bird, and his idea is that he needs to prey on people in order to get the money to get Goku into the mode of transportation that will get him to the tournament.
Well, not just him. Remember, the Fox at this point
looking for
is
a way
trying
out.
to steal two tickets, not just one, because he needs to get away from these guys that clearly have it out for him.
Right. And so, of course, the way to the tournament would not be the right way to the tournament for Goku if it is also the way that this Fox is escaping from his responsibility. So it can't ultimately work out that way, right? Because it's part of that wisdom that is being imparted in this episode is this is not the way.
It is not the way.
Not the way. I also want to point out on the way there, he keeps calling him bro, right?
Yes.
And Goku's like, "Why are you calling me that? My name is Goku." And he's like, "Because you're my bro." Or he calls him brother in the English version, right?
And I think they did it that way because it is something that Konkichi's kind of trying to he's trying to make Goku feel like his family because he saved his life, right? And so he really wants to show his appreciation, but having really, and that's why he's taking him to the airport too, but really having no instantiation of how that relationship is supposed to work. He kind of just like tries to adopt Goku as a brother immediately.
Well, he's also trying to take the brother status from Goku without earning it. He's basically saying,
exactly, yeah.
You know, oh well, now that I know that you're willing to do stuff for me, I'm gonna make you feel like you're an endearment to me, sort
Hmm.
of. And
And
so
so, yeah,
he's trying
yeah.
to force that status onto Goku and take it from him in a sense
Well, and to
because he
say too that
steals.
he wants him to keep him around so that he can protect him from
Yeah,
these guys, right?
yeah,
And that's all kind of implied in there. And so they leave the airport, so they're not caught by the police because Konkichi already is aware of Goku's great moral standing, and he knows that if he finds out that he's a thief, he's not going to be his bro anymore.
the jig will be up,
The
right?
jig will be up, exactly. And so they have to earn 30,000 zeni for the flight to Papaya Island. Konkichi takes Goku to a carnival to achieve this goal. Here, Goku uses his strength to break a mallet game, and make 30,000 zeni on the spot. The pair then meet Udinai Baba on the street, and she gazes into the soul of Konkichi, causing him to flee. Running into an alleyway, Konkichi is then confronted by his loan sharks that it is revealed he owes them 50,000 zeni, and is forced to take part in their scheme, which we don't know what it is yet. So here, oh, I didn't even notice I got that last part. Oh well. So here we see it's finally revealed, first off, what Konkichi has done, right? He has gambling debts to these guys. He has taken, which gambling in this instance, right, is already shown as an immoral action, but it is taking that responsibility, right, and putting it into the hands of chaos. And Konkichi hasn't been able to actually pay up to that responsibility, let's say, or that action. And so what's happened by him releasing that responsibility to the chaos is the chaos has taken his life, and basically marked him as a dead man.
Right, and of course, who would show up to collect his debt
But the Beastman.
but Udinai Baba, who
Oh, that's what
collects
you
all
mean.
debts, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
And so
yes.
she recognizes his debt to Chaos immediately. And as
Right.
soon as she sees him, he's caught by.
As that white dot in the black paisley, right? As she sees him and
Exactly.
calls him out, she says, "Why were they chasing you?" Right? And as soon as that's when he
And he can't
runs.
run away now.
But notice that the running away is what gets him caught. If he would
Yeah.
have stayed there and confronted the truth at that point, things could have worked out a little better for him.
Right. Well, man, this little section here, I really like it too because where is this happening? Well, it's happening at a carnival, a place of games and festivities, and the carnival archetypally
Mhm.
it typically seems to be the thing that happens at the passing of a threshold. It's sort of the end of a cycle.
Sure, yeah.
It's, the carnival at the end of the world or sort of the celebration. It's the oddities and it's games too, right? And so not only is he not taking responsibility, but he's playing a game in leaving his how would I say his ability to eat and sleep well up to chance, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like here he is in
Well,
a carnival with
and even
Goku, who defeats the game immediately by the virtue of his own moral character, you could
mhm.
say, right? Because he's stronger than the game that he's playing. And then boom, here's Udinai Baba to show up as the arbiter of chaos and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what you doing here? What are you running from?" And
Yeah.
so it really does play nicely the
It
way that
is,
they
and it
frame it.
is like we've been saying, it's that white dot, it's that order that calls forth when you're in that mired chaos, right? And that's kind of where Konkichi lives, is in that chaos, like on the run from these guys constantly. Um, and leaving that up to chance, right? Releasing one's life into the hands of chaos, without adequately being able to pay up, is going to call forth Udinai Baba to gaze into him.
I want to talk about the
Yeah,
little
I
boy
was, yep.
because the
Hmm.
sequence of events that happens here is the boy lets go of his balloon and it floats up into the sky. Goku says, "I can get it," and he jumps up into the sky and grabs it, brings it back down, and gives it to the boy. But then a bird pops the balloon, and so the boy is still upset. And so then the fox gives him candy from his pocket,
And make some silly faces at
makes
him.
goofy faces, and then the boy's happy.
Yeah.
And so the sequence of events is interesting there because it's like, how do I say? The boy is representative of something within the fox, I would
Well,
say. That childlike nature that he needs to reconnect with and be innocent, right? Be able to be forthright and be innocent.
I was gonna say it to me. What I was thinking is that it shows that that manifestation of virtue in the fox is not something that he harbors against others, right? It's something that he's integrated to himself, And we kind of learn later on about his backstory and
Mm.
why he might be doing this to himself to begin with. But the idea being that he's generous and cares about other people is an instantiation that shows that he's not all bad. Let's say.
Well, I like that you say that because let me frame it out this way, right? So let's follow this line of reasoning where the little boy is sort of representative of the goodness that's still within the fox. And so we get here to the carnival and that balloon floats away, right? And so the thing that is keeping that aspect of him content, it cannot be grasped. It's floating away from him. So Goku can give it back, right? He can jump anywhere and grab that balloon and give it back to him. But the bird pops it, right? That logical thing where he can criticize himself will not allow him to be happy. And so he knows what he needs to do to be happy, to see himself as a good person, which is to give rather than to steal, right? And so he is
Yeah,
virtuous in that sense, and
exactly.
he gives.
It's an embody. That whole sequence is an embodiment of the
Yeah,
fox's conflict. Let's say.
and this is the resolution of his conflict later on, right? So
Yes,
it's
it's foreshadowing.
it
It's
seems
well done.
arbitrary, but it's
Yeah.
actually it feels like it's supposed to represent that the fox knows what he needs to be doing, and he's not doing it.
Yes, definitely. And I would say that is exactly the case. And so, as he knows he's not doing it, he runs away and has to take part in the scheme of these three loan sharks. And we're going to figure out what that is in just a second. So, after that, back in Baba's car, after the foxes run away, she tells Goku to go look for him. And meanwhile, Konkichi is framed for a bank robbery his loan sharks committed. Goku and Baba arrive just in time for the arrest, and Konkichi begs for them to help. After revealing his backstory of how he's never had any friends and he's always tried his best just to survive, Konkichi convinces Goku that he is innocent. And Goku saves the day by apprehending the criminals and bringing them to justice to the cops, I suppose. Now, the last thing that happens here is like what we were saying is that Konkichi actually meets up with that young boy again, and being reunited, Konkichi has a friend which he never has had before.
Yes. One thing that I think is interesting about this interaction with him and Goku is that it seems as though he's lying to Goku a little bit, saying that he was threatened that they would kill him if he didn't do this, right? Because they say we've got a job for you. They don't say explicitly to him we're going to kill you, right?
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
so we see that he's still not being totally honest. But that's all right in a sense because Goku's able to fundamentally resolve the problem, right?
Goku's able to understand that that lie is not, let's say, pathological to his spirit.
Yeah, it's something that
Because think about what would happen, right? He does this job, goes to jail, gets in a cycle, right? It basically ends his life, anyways.
sure it basically is the end of sort of who he is as an innocent character, or a childlike being, right? Because
Right.
we see that like Goku, he's sort of on that edge of
In
being a child and being
adolescence,
an
yeah.
adult,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so we see that whenever he says, "Well, I've never had any friends," it's like he's been robbed of being able to see himself as a child, and he
And
needs
being
to,
valued by others, right?
yeah.
All that.
And
Hmm.
so he's acting like an adult, taking responsibility that he actually can't respect, responsibility that he doesn't know how to manage properly in stealing and gambling and doing these things, and he needs to be able to be in contact with the fact that he is that there's value in him being innocent still and being childlike and being able,
And
and
being
that's needing a
forthright, right?
friend,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And that
Being
friend,
valuable to others.
right? Yeah. And so it's resolving that sort of thing for him, which is that at the very end of the day, Goku has gone out into the world and lived amongst other people as though he were out in the world as an adult. But he also needs to remember what needs to be carried over from his childhood through to the next stage that he's
Yeah.
going to
The
go into. Right.
reconnection, right? Of the childlike spirit from the adult psyche is what kind of reinvigorates that creative spirit. It's almost the interface of the chaotic that can arise with that childlike being. And so,
And also, I want to point out that Baba helps Goku without him having to pay her this time, and she says, "Well, you can pay me back later." So
and she never
now that
actually
he's
asked for it. But I mean, this
now that
is
he's actually done the process and earned her favor, now she'll come to the table, right?
well, and that's to say that I think the white dot and the black paisley respect so much that that person that can walk down the path between the two of them, such that it does call forth, just like Mother Nature, the best aspects to the hero so that he can continue his quest. And that's kind of what we see here. I mean, she uses kind of a Jedi mind trick on the cop as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of this culminates in Goku missing his plane, and Baba points then to the direction of Papaya Island, and Goku indicates that he's going to swim. And here he is swimming. I love that picture of him swimming. And so, saying goodbye to Konkichi and Baba, Goku begins to swim across the globe to get to the tournament. And at last, we see the members of the cast assembling to join the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. Launch, initially not wanting to go as Blue Hair Launch, sneezes and changes her mind. And meanwhile, we see the Crane Hermit, Tien, and Chaozu are all on a ship, waiting for their arrival to Papaya Island. I kind of put this last part in here just to set up how we're going to start into the next arc.
So Goku's swimming instead of riding in the plane, right?
Yes. Well, it has to be this, or at least, I mean, if he ran, it would have been okay as well. I think it's even better that he swims because he's on the edge of chaos in order to begin with. But he can't ride the Nimbus. He can't take the plane because that is antithetical to the self-discipline he's trying to impose upon himself and learn from that and mature from that discipline and the openness that he's experiencing as well from the world around him.
Right. And if he were to use money to get back to where he needs to be at the end of this journey,
Money earned by surpassing a challenge that doesn't carry any meaning with it.
yeah, well, it's also the whole challenge for him is that he needs to do everything he does by his own merit, for the sake of the goodness of doing those things out in the world, right, and not for personal gain, which separates him from Tien and Chaozu, right, and so for him to accept that he uses technology outside of himself that he can rent out with money is against the spirit of what this journey has been for him for the past 3 years. Because at the beginning of the episode, he says, "Oh, you need money to eat and
because
sleep," right?
Roshi laid out the spirit of his journey for him. He dictated the rules of it, basically. And we'll see how he reacts to learning about Goku's actual adherence to those rules next episode. But it's exactly that, right? The adherence to those rules has made the journey such that the spirit has not been broken. And even here, Goku is not going to ride the Nimbus. And he's not going to pay with money that he shouldn't have earned. And he's not going to ride on an airplane through the Logos, something that he could already do with the Nimbus if he was so inclined.
Or a boat, because this time everyone's arriving in boats. A plane went last time. We see him swimming, and then it cuts to showing us the Crane Hermit.
And they're on a boat, yeah.
And they're riding a boat across the water. And then also the rest of the Z crew is riding a boat across the water as well. And so...
But only Goku is smack on the path. He's in the middle of the wavy
He is in
line.
the zone of proximal development the entire way there.
Yes.
Rather than
for the next 3 days, because there's 3 days left until the tournament. Yeah.
And so rather than saying, okay, I'm ready for the tournament, I'll just go do the tournament, every single step of the way to the tournament, he's staying in that phase. So he is 100% committed.
And it's that being in the right place at the right time, perfectly integrated constantly.
Right.
And so we will see the fruits of Goku's labor the last few episodes, the training to get with Korin. We're going to see all of that culminate in Goku's new instantiation in the hierarchy in the next episode, which will start the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. Anything else?
No, I'm just ready to talk about this 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. It's exciting.
I agree. It is really good. And then after, it's just going to be a explosion after that, because then we're going to be no breaks. Into that. Yeah, no breaks. No more long filler cuts either until I think the end of the next, not the next arc, but the next arc.
The arc after, right?
Yeah. So, if you like what you heard, please give us a like, a subscribe on YouTube. We upload Mondays and Thursdays. On Rumble, we upload Tuesdays and Fridays. Like we said, we're not going to be able to upload we're not going to be able to upload next week, but we should be back the week after that. We're glad you guys are enjoying the episodes, and I think that's pretty much it. So I'm your host on the left, Owl,
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
and we hope you guys have a good night.